Welcome to Issues. This is our 1 hour special on Father's Day. You may recall that for Mother's Day we had a 1 hour special. And of course, fathers are just as special as mothers. So we will have a 1 hour special this evening. And we're very, very excited to have you view us. And we have with us a young lady, Kalee Darrell. How are you today, Kalee?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Very good. Now, Kalee is a budding writer, and she has written something concerning Father's Day. So, Kalee, take it away.
Okay. First of all, I would like to say that I wrote this based on my life with my father, pretty much, to say, so here it goes. It's called Life Without a Father. Life without a father wasn't really cool. No father to teach me how to ride a bike or pick me up from school. I learned how to conquer the world and every obstacle tossed, moving great mountains and achieving at every cost. Life with no father meant not one Father's Day card. I was not like the rest of the girls, no one to hold me to his heart. Life without a father helped me to appreciate my mother more. She taught me that I had worth and that God had something amazing in store. See, while I was weeping, craving a father dear, I didn't realize that I had God the Father standing close and standing near. Life without my father didn't define who I am. I know I'm worthwhile, and my mother made me understand that God is forever watching, keeping close to my side. I just need to forever keep trusting, and by his word I must abide.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, as I was listening to you read, you were explaining some of the things that you've missed by not having a father in home. Now, but have there been surrogate fathers? Have there been people in your lives that have filled in for a father who might have been at home?
Yes, definitely. My mother has, of course, different friends, and they are married, and I've gotten close with those people, like my godparents and things like that, and I grew up with them from young, so they're what I knew as father, pretty much seeing them every day of my life, and they, in subtle ways, probably didn't even realize they actually instilled put some values into me based on how I watched them raise their kids as well. And they adopt me as their daughter. Sometimes they'll go out and they say, oh, this is my goddaughter. Oh. This is my daughter as well. And it felt good to know that, I had people that were by my side, even though they weren't my real fathers, but they were there for me. And I can go to them and, just talk to them like they are like a regular father. And so when my birthday came along, and because I honor people every year for my birthday, that impact my life. Mm-hmm. And so when my birthday came along one year, I made sure that I honored those father figures that were in my life so that they could know that they did make a difference.
Very good. Now, in your poem, you mentioned how your mother filled in those gaps. Do you find that mothers, not necessarily your mothers, but do you find that mothers can really take the place of a father?
I wouldn't say that they can actually take the place of the father, but they can definitely, I would say, encourage their kids to know that even though the father's not in their life or whatever, that, ensure that the child is not feeling like they're a problem in a sense where they feel like, because I don't have a father, it must be something wrong with me. Encourage the kids, and the mothers can encourage them.
Have you ever had that feeling?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I had that feeling. For a while as a kid, I was crazy. I sometimes used to make up stories and stuff of my dad because I felt like I didn't fit in school. Sometimes, I remember me to institute in primary school, and fathers is a big thing in BI. They have 100 men on campus day, and they have, Father's Day. You have to write your Father's Day cards out and give them to your dads, and your dads come eat breakfast and stuff if you like that. And I didn't have a father to come do that for me. And so sometimes I felt a little uncomfortable and felt like I didn't fit in with the other kids as far as fathers were concerned.
How were you able to get over those feelings?
At first like I said, made up stories. So at first I kind of resorted to saying, oh, well, my dad is a police officer, trying to make my daddy seem like the hero that I never really had. But after a while, I learned that, I am, I'm somebody special, even though, I have my father in my life, and I can't pick up the phone and say, oh, hi, Daddy, and, things like that. I learned that, I have people around me. I learned to look to those people, those father figures. I learned to say, okay, well, here's my Uncle Randy, or, here's this person or that person. And it made me feel a little more comfortable. And I was just like, it's not so bad. It's not the end of the world to say, oh, your dad's not in your life. And you gotta, I say, looking positive. I feel like my philosophy for life, period, is, if you can't change the situation, just look how you view it.
Yeah. And as you may look at some of your friends that have a father in their home, you are just as normal as they are. You don't really see any difference. You are just as happy, just as sad, just as crazy, just as not crazy as they are. So maybe fathers really aren't that important.
I would say a father is definitely important. And I can't really speak for young boys because I'm not a boy. Okay. But for a girl, I believe that a father is important to be in her life. Mm-hmm. Even though my mother did show me that I had self-worth and value, and she did an excellent job at doing that and helping me to grow up to be a confident woman and things like that. But it's nice to have a father around to, talk to his little girl about guys and the things that guys do, or give you that advice, and to hear from your mother, because that's another woman's point of view. You want to hear from a different area. My uncle used to tell me about boys and things like that, and when I was younger, but he passed away. So after he passed away, I was just like, oh, geez, I don't know, but you learn. You learn. I tend to talk to the other males that are in my life, god brothers and things like that, and talk to them about male issues or other little issues that I feel like some fathers could talk to you about, and get their point of view on it, so I can better understand different things that my mother probably wouldn't be able to tell me, because, like I said, she's a mother. She's not my father. Right, she's my mother.
If there's one quality that you think every father should have, even though you haven't had a father in your life, but you've had father figures, so if there's one quality you think every father should have, what would that be?
That's a good question.
Is it the nurturing that they may give? Could it be the talks that you mentioned? I know with my own daughter who lives in Orlando, every day she calls me 2 and 3 and 4 times. So would it be something like that, the ability to communicate with your daughter?
Yeah, definitely. I would say be approachable. Mm-hmm. So girls like to talk. Mm-hmm. And me and my mother have developed a beautiful relationship. I pretty much tell her and talk to her about anything. But I feel like fathers definitely should have that approachable quality, that their daughter can come to them and say, hey, daddy, tell them, be comfortable to say about their boyfriends, or comfortable to talk about their failures, their fears, anything like that. Like the same thing that they would talk to a mother about, I feel like the father should be approachable enough that the young child, girl, boy, whatever, can feel comfortable to talk to them about it as well.
Yeah. Now, with these father figures that you've had in your life, and I think it's really important that those men were willing to open up and give you an opportunity to talk to them, and then they could talk to you. Would communication be the main thing, the main attribute that you would pick out in terms of what they were able to offer you, or is there something else other than the communication?
I would say it's other than the communication. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that I couldn't talk to them about really deep personal stuff. They made it easy for me to, converse with them and talk. But I would say they're loving spirits, just welcoming me in, to their family circle, considering me one of their own. That made it a lot better. That was definitely probably the best thing that could have happened for me to, encounter these men in my life, to know that, it just felt good. Everyone wants to feel like they belong somewhere, so it felt good.
Now, Kalee, you're a budding writer, a budding author. You have written many poems and many articles. Other than that, what would you like to accomplish with your writing?
I would love to publish it into a book. I write so that I've gone through a lot in my life, battling illness and growing up without the father and different things like that. And the challenges that I face, I tend to write about them, and I tend to apply spiritual applications to them. And when I do so, I put them in sometimes parable form, maybe a poem, maybe a short story, and things like that. So I would like to compile them into a book and create a devotional type of guidance, sort of like a modern day parables type of book that other people can read, and because I feel like somebody out there can relate to anything that I put in there. It's not necessarily personal where I'm just talking about direct personal things. It's just things in general, just maybe trusting God or maybe friendships or relationships and such. So I feel I really want to just reach out to people, and I want it to my audience to be young people such as myself, because they're going through the same trials. I'm not saying that other people are not going through the same struggles as, but we can relate more together. This young person over here can say, yeah, I have problems with love and relationships, or someone else can say, yeah, I have problems with friendships, and I feel like my friend did this to me or that to me, or I didn't have my father either, or my mother this, and I feel like they can all relate, and I want to reach out to people that are, in my age group.
Now, these articles, are they already written, or are you thinking about writing them to compile them in a book?
I have already written several, and I still write. I write every time something comes to mind. I just immediately write it. I may type it in my phone or something so I can have it. But I have definitely already have them written. I have I may have about 100 things that I have written. Not all completely compiled together, but over time I probably have 100 things that I have written. And so...
now, do you have them in any type of organized fashion? Are they on your computer? Are they on pieces of paper in your closet or in your drawer? So where are they?
Okay, so I started writing in a composition book. It all started from one composition book whereas I believe Baltimore. Sick in a bed. It started from that.
How old were you when you started?
I want to say 16 or 17, one of the two, right? Started really writing like this. As a child, however, from about the age of 5, I started writing short stories at random just because I was bored, just a short story. And reading back on them, I'm just like, wow, like why are you 5 and able to write this? But the things that I'm compiling now, I started when about 16 or 17 writing them. I started in a composition book, filled up the composition book, started another one. My mother, who wanted me to put them in a book a while ago, but us children don't listen, she has compiled a little book already for herself. Kind of started to put it together of what it could look like. I coded my journey. I gave it a title. I drew a picture with it and everything to explain the journey. And so she has that. Also, she has it on her computer. I also have the composition book still, and I have probably about 2.5 composition books full of different things. So, yeah.
Very good. We have been talking with Kalee Darrell, a young lady who has been very open and been very positive. She has grown up without a father, but she has been able to have father figures in her life and is doing extremely well. Kalee is in college. Also, you heard where she is a budding author. She has compiled several of her writings that talks about her emotions. So if there's anyone listening and looking that would like to assist Kalee in developing and putting a devotional together, especially for young people, please, you can contact her through us. You can write to issuesbda.com. In fact, you can go to our website, issuesbda.com. You go to the contact page and send us an email. Kalee, thank you so much for being with us. We'll take a break and be right back. Welcome back to Issues. By the way, at the end of our program, we're going to take a look at the survey results. I'm sure that some of you have had the opportunity to go to issuesbda.com and answer our survey. There's sometimes individuals, when I ask them to go there, they're expecting a long survey, but you saw that there were only 2 questions, and the results may surprise you, but we'll be giving that at the end of the show. Well, we're very happy to have with us Dennis and Miranda Lister. As most of you or all of you know, Dennis is Shadow Minister for Quangos and a very good friend of mine. Dennis and Miranda, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We're going to give the first question to Miranda. I know that you have 3 boys, 3 adult boys, one still in college, but over the years, what is it that you have appreciated about Dennis as a father to those 3 boys?
I'm automatically coming to my head, and it says that he was always there. Mm-hmm. He was always there as a father, a friend, somebody to play with, somebody they could, just punch at, and they were just always, best of friends. Okay. And today, I still see it.
Yeah. Let me ask you something, Dennis. She
Sure.
said best of friends. Are fathers friends, or are they fathers, or is it the same thing?
I think it's a combination of both.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a parent, but you can also be a friend. And I think being the parent is more important than the friend, because you want to instill the discipline and all those things and set the parameters. But once the parameters are set, then you can be a friend.
Okay.
But it's important to make sure the parameters are set.
Okay. Now, you heard what your wife said in terms of what she has appreciated about you in terms of a father. Now, if I'm going to ask you, what is that quality that you have appreciated about yourself as a father? It might be the same thing as Miranda said. I don't know. But what have you appreciated about yourself?
Well, they say life, you try and find role models. My role model for me was my father. I think my father was probably the best father I could have had, anybody could have had as far as I'm concerned. And I try to role model myself after my father. He was an individual who was always there for us as children, my brother and my sister and I. And he was both the disciplinarian when he needed to be, but he was also there for us as support, friend, and encouragement on anything and everything that we done. He was there to support us and make sure we understood the directions and the parameters of where we were going. And I've tried to bring that to how we've raised our children.
Mm-hmm. Now, Dennis, you have been a public figure for many years. Mm-hmm. Now, has that been a burden in terms of raising your children? Were they expected to act a certain way, behave a certain way?
Interesting question. Burden, I don't know if burden is the right word for it. They may say, yes, it's been a burden in some areas, but for me, I look at it from 2 perspectives. One, I think because I was a public figure, because I was away from home so often, mm-hmm. I see that maybe I lost some of the time that I would like to have had more at home with the boys, but I always try to compensate that wherever I could and adjust to my schedule. So it had a negative, but on the other side of it, it probably was the fact that I like to walk the walk more than talk the talk, mm-hmm. so to speak. So if I'm out there trying to lead the community and set examples, I want to make sure I'm setting those examples at home and leading my children in those directions. And, if I'm going to be critical of things that are going on in the community, I want to make sure that my children understand the things that are critical out there and why I see them as being critical. Yeah. So it's walking the walk and not just having a conversation.
Miranda, as a mother, did you feel any pressure in terms of being in the public's eye?
I don't recall it. I always felt that I was just a mother. Mm-hmm. And even though we were in the public eye, I just felt I had to raise my children. Yeah. And it was not, any time where I felt I had to raise them a certain way because I already had my standards of how I wanted my children to be raised. Mm-hmm. So it just was natural. Mm-hmm. I think the boys themselves got to a point where it was, they've always been in the public eye. Mm-hmm. And it was, they would make comments like, oh, we know how to behave. And so, I felt my job was a little easier. Yeah. Because they knew their place.
Yeah. Some of our politicians today are young fathers and young mothers. If there is one advice that you could give them in terms of raising their children, being in the public eye, what would that be? Either David or either Dennis or Miranda. What would you tell them?
family first.
Family first.
Always family
To the
first.
detriment of the country.
And but also as a Christian man,
Yes.
as a Christian man, God first. If you
Okay.
put God first in your life and God as the head of your household,
Yeah.
it's going to lead you in the right direction. And if you stay to those principles, godly principles, Christian principles, naturally you should be leading your children in the right way.
Yeah, okay.
And you're leading your family in the right way. And if you put those first, everything else falls in place.
Okay.
If you sacrifice the family, then you can be appreciative of the other things
Yes.
that you achieve.
Yeah.
That's my view. So don't sacrifice the family for other gains. But family first, and all things else will fall in place. Next to God first.
Very good. Miranda?
When Dennis said about that, it was my upbringing was godly, and I always knew I wanted my children to grow up godly. So they're normal children, but I just felt they just need to know that there was a God that loved them and was there for them, especially when they got in their teens, and it was, the church or God wasn't, or the presence of Christianity always hit them in the face, and this is the teenage years when children rebel. So my comment to them was, just know who your foundation is. And you're going to go through changes in life anyway. But as long as you know God is your foundation, then you'll always be strong and make right decisions, hopefully.
But both of you have mentioned the influence of God in the household. Now, Dennis, let me ask you, in terms of being the head, well, let me ask this first. Are men still considered the head of the household?
Well, if you ask me, the answer is definite yes.
Okay.
I think that's the role we need to step up and play.
What does that look like?
Meaning, and I say step up and play because we've given away the role in so many circumstances. And I see it as part of the problems that we have, as I have to deal with as a politician, of issues in our community. A lot of the issues that are in our community, we see it falling down to lack of male leadership, not only in the community, but in the home, because most problems start at home. And you have to address that back to the fact that there is a lack of that at home. Not knocking the mother who has to raise the child, because a lot of single mothers are doing fantastic jobs, and let's understand that. But the best situation would be to have that father in that child's life and at home to help set the right parameters for that particularly young male.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. Now, with 3 boys, and you haven't had any girls, so is it different raising boys as compared to girls?
Well,
Dennis and then Miranda.
Well, I can't say it's different because I haven't raised girls. But I'll put it in this context. I have a lot of nieces. Some have been in and out of the house almost as if they were our daughters in the house. But I love the fact that they can go home. And I always joke with them about that. I just seem to have graduated more with the boys than with the girls, and I think it was easier for me, particularly with the schedule that we lived on. I'm on the go so often. It's easier for me to grab the boys up, dress them up, and take them out when they were younger than I think I would have stumbled a bit if I was trying to put on some pretty dresses and combs from here. So I always find it a lot easier from that perspective. As far as raising them, being different from raising girls, the challenges of raising children, I think the challenges of raising children are equal, whether it's girl or boy. It's just a matter of the relationship you build in that household with those children and the parameters that you set for those children.
How would you respond to that?
Well, first of all, I grew up one of 6 girls.
Oh, my goodness.
And I know in my household, it's easier to raise boys. I don't have to go through a lot of the drama that my sisters and I went through with our parents or gave our parents. But I enjoy every minute having boys.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right, you're the only female. You get all the attention.
Yes, I'm definitely the queen of my castle.
Now, in the Bermudian society over the past few years, we have been seeing gang violence, and much of it from young men, even though I understand that there's some young ladies getting involved. Is there a remedy to this gang violence?
When you say is there a remedy always sounds like is there one fix, one word, one measure that will fix it all for everything. I think we can't look at it from that perspective. But we have to address some of the root causes. And the root causes, again, go back to lack of some things that are lacking in the individual's lives. The home structure, the lack of male role models. And I should emphasize here that not all the children involved come from single-parent homes. There are children coming from dual-parent homes. But it's what's lacking, and we're sometimes missing the mark on what the child needs as far as parameters are set, letting them know where the boundaries are. I've been in the political life long enough that I can remember some of the younger children that I thought were going in some wrong directions in the early portions of their life. And there are incidents where I've taken it upon myself to approach certain parents. Some have been receptive, and I've seen changes. Some have treated me totally opposite, as if I was stepping out of my bonds and don't stick my nose in their business. And later on in life, to the regret of the situation, I've seen those children go totally off the rails. So it's understanding, even at an early age, it's not cute what they do if what they do is wrong. Set the parameters early, set the boundaries early, and try and work within those restrictions or constrictions to make sure the child understands what's expected of them.
So you seem to be pointing back to the home in terms of maybe one of the reasons why young men are involved in gang violence.
And to me, I always point back to the home when I'm trying to find solutions, because we come out of the home. That's our base. That's our foundation where it starts. And it's not picking on single parent. It's picking on how the child is raised, whether it's a dual parent or single parent situation for that child. We have to make sure we're putting in the correct foundations for the children.
It would seem to me then, if our homes are not stable, if they're not functioning properly, then our society may not function properly. Right. What are some of your thoughts?
I've always believed the home is the foundation. What happens in the home is a reflection of what's going to happen out in society. And you see it happening. It could be a lot of other things happening as well, but I think the home is the basis. If we go back biblically, God gave us the home first. And we were to make that a good environment for our young people, our children to grow up in. And when they go out off into their own life, then they have the example. But if that's missing, then we have the fault.
Now, we're not driving this position to say that we're perfect parents. I don't want anybody out there to think we're perfect parents. I don't want anybody to think I've raised perfect children. Because our children are going to be children just like any other child. And I expect them to go wrong as I went wrong as a child, but understanding that there's a foundation that I could come back to. And that was what was important for me. I was raised by parents who never turned their back on me. Even when I was going down some roads I shouldn't have, I think that's when they were there the most to say, throw that support there, to realize that you still got the string to pull you back, so to speak. The string is still there for you to reach out and pull back on when you realize you're going in an area that you need to come back away from.
We have been talking with Dennis Miranda Lister, and Dennis, you said some things. I'm going to have you come back. As I've listened, church and God is a very special part of you, and you make me wonder, politics and religion, how do they mix? So we're going to have you come back and discuss that, and we'll discuss that. We'll take a break, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Issues. And as a reminder, we will be giving the survey results at the end of our program. We have with us now David Minors and his lovely daughter, Teche. Teche is a student at Warwick Academy, and we won't say how old you are because you're a woman, and I understand that women don't want individuals to know their age. But Teche, tell us, what is it that you appreciate most about your father?
What I appreciate most about my father, I appreciate that I'm able to talk to him just about anything, and he's really fun to hang around. Like, we have karaoke sessions and
At home, you have
Yeah.
karaoke sessions, and what sing different songs and.
Like, we'll just play music and sing along and dance and just have a lot of fun.
Does he act crazy during those times?
Yeah, sometimes.
Very good. Well, we're very, very happy to have you here. Now, David, you are well known in Bermuda, and you're involved in many things besides your work at TCD. Maybe that's the least that is known about you. You have your own TV show. So tell us about some of the things as a father and as a male Bermudian that you're doing.
Well, first and foremost, thanks, Richard, for having me here. I appreciate being on a different set. It's a little bit different, but it's always a pleasure. First and foremost, I am the Road Safety Officer of the Bermuda Road Safety Council and the Transport Control Department. That's my main focus and my main job, or my main income. Next, of course, I'm involved with my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Epsilon Theta Lambda chapter. I also am a host on another television show called In the Know.
Yes.
In the Know is on CITV. It is a government informational-based program. So the job of the program is to actually lay out any sort of initiatives or new ideas that government is implementing and then give that information to the general populace. So those are some of the things that I do. I'm also involved in the theatrical community, I want to say it that easy, getting ready to do another production this month. So you can look out for that. So that's all of the things that we try to do, but also staying involved as much as possible at home with the children, with the wife, and with the family, because that, again, is the focal point of our existence.
Before we get into what you do as a father, my knowledge of you was really with your fraternity. You work with young men.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that, because it's just it's just young boys that you work with, teenagers that you work with. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, through our fraternity, or through my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, we have many different mentoring programs. And because there's a plethora of brothers on the island, we try to make sure that everybody has their little niche. I've assisted in previous years and this year with the Alpha Battalion, and of course with our Project Alpha. So I'll talk with the battalion first. The battalion ends up being our rites of passage program. What we do is we go to the schools and we gather a group of high-flying individual males, seniors, and we work with them over a 6-month period. We do community service. They do community service. We mentor them in regards to resume writing and business etiquette and those sorts of things. We get them involved in our younger programs like our Math Attack and those sorts of aspects. And then we put it together a combination of events that happened earlier in May of this year, where they get to showcase all of their talents, their oratorical skills. They do a bit of an intro, they do a little step routine, they do some talent, and they actually have to write essays and be involved throughout 6 months. So that's a process that I think bodes well for our young men. It shows our high flyers. I'm also involved with our Project Alpha. Our Project Alpha is a national program of my fraternity. It's an actual teen pregnancy prevention program. I've been running that program with other brothers on the island for many, many years. I've been Project Alpha coordinator for our chapter for a good number of years. And that program we actually run every year. We go to either middle schools or high schools. Whenever we are accepted and wherever we can get it organized, we go out and we go one-on-one. We go in large groups, small groups, and we discuss the responsibility and respect that young males should have in relationships. We talk about that. We talk about sexually transmitted infections. We talk about all sorts of aspects when it comes to relationships, pregnancy, and what the male role in those aspects are. So it's a very big program, actually.
I commend you and others who are working with young men, because we need strong young men. Gang violence that we're experiencing in Bermuda today, in your opinion, is that a reflection on the home? And is that also a reflection on what fathers have not done properly?
To a certain extent, I agree that it's an afterthought. The gang culture that we see in Bermuda is based solely on the fact that we have people who don't feel. And when I say that, people might think that I'm a bit obtuse, but it's the fact that I'm in a game because my feelings are being numbed. I'm numbing down something that went wrong. I don't feel a certain way, so I have to act and react. We as fathers, we as parents, we need to nurture our children so that they feel our love, they feel our blessings, they feel us, so that they don't have that need to go out and search for it elsewhere. I think that's part of our issue. Another part of our issue is because our society has dumbed down the concept of love. We don't understand the concept. We think love is a physicality. It's a touchy-feely sort of thing. No, love is being able to know that that person is going to be there when you need them to be there. That person has a loaf of bread for me or a sandwich when I need to eat. That's love. Love is being able to know that you are involved in your connection and you're connected. And I think that's part of why we have such a violent gang culture in Bermuda, is because we've taken a group of individuals who did not feel loved and we separated them. When have we decided when we decide as a community that we want to go out and we want to embrace and we want them to feel loved, then we will have that much more of a arrow in our quiver in order to deal with gang violence in Bermuda.
Discipline. Is discipline part of love, or is discipline separate from love?
I'm looking at my daughter when you say discipline. Discipline.
You get discipline at home, but you're perfect, aren't you? And your brother and sister, you're perfect.
Discipline is absolutely a part of love. I cannot love you if I allow you to do things that you know and I know are morally wrong. And we're not talking about beating children. We're not talking about whooping behind, and we'll leave it there. We're simply indicating that if I see you doing something wrong, then I as adult, I as man, I as father step in and say, no, what you just did is incorrect. This is the way it should be done, and this is what I would like for you to do. If I don't say that, and if I accept those things that are wrong, then I am setting my child and all other people's children up to fail. And I, as a parent, I refuse to do that. My job as father is to make sure that my children know what is right, what is wrong, and that they can, when they get older, be able to decipher what should be and what should not be.
To what degree are you, as a father, involved in the education of your three children?
That is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful question. I believe as father...
You were a teacher at one point.
Yes, I have to say that I did. I was one of the inaugural teachers at the Cedar Bridge Academy in 1997. Wow. Yes, I taught English for 3.5 years, actually, to be quite honest. But to answer the question, as a parent, I'm not going to say just individual as a father, because their mom is very much involved, and I want that to be quite clear, because, again, I think it's a team effort. If you have two parents, it's excellent. If you have one parent, then that person has to do a little bit more work, but it can be done. As a parent, you need to be vitally involved in what is going on with your children when it comes to their education. There's no possible way that you can do it without. And thinking that a teacher is just going to be able to do it, that's the worst thing in the world. You have to be involved. If you are involved, your children will benefit. I can tell you there are plenty of times where I'll get a phone call or an email from her school or from my other children's school, which is Purvis Primary, and I'm right on the phone with the teacher, with the advisor, saying, okay, if this is going on, what can we do? What can I do at home to assist her or assist them to assist you? If we work in a vacuum, we don't get the desired results. So if you want your child to be successful, you need to ask your child, okay, how was school today? Great. Okay, what did you learn? And this is not at 14 or 12 or 10. This is at 2. Okay, at 3. Kindergarten. What did you learn? Oh, you did your ABCs? Oh, come for me then. Read to me. Let's read. If you do those things at the beginning, it gets so much easier after the fact.
Well, now, tradition says that fathers are the head of the household. Is that still true?
In certain aspects, I do believe it is. If by chance you're a single mother and you're in that household, then no, the father is not the head of that household, the mother is. But traditionally, I still believe that rings true. Bottom line is, I as the father, I as the husband, the buck stops with me. So when God comes a calling, he's going to come calling to me. He's not going to come calling to my wife or my children. He comes calling to me. So I have to stand up and make sure that my household is run a certain way. Now, there are certain things that I allow my wife to do, and my wife does like to do.
Okay, he says he allows his wife to do.
I know I said allow.
We won't go there.
I know I said allow, and it might get me in trouble. That's why I'm trying to clean it up.
Okay.
There are certain aspects of my household that my wife is in control of. Mm-hmm. And that is solely because we choose to allow, we have decided that that's what's best for my family. Yeah. I can't say that's going to be the same way for everybody else. Mm-hmm. There are certain aspects that I like to do that would be considered women's work. Mm-hmm. I like to wash dishes. I like to wash clothes. Mm-hmm. So when I get an opportunity, I will go and I'll wash the clothes. She's laughing because she knows it's the truth.
Are they as clean as when your mother washes them? Okay, very good.
See? So it's like, as long as whatever works in your environment works for you, mm-hmm. and everybody's benefiting, and there's not any hindrance, then I don't see it being an issue of man being, okay, I have to be head of household, me man, me make food, me make money. No, I don't see it that way.
David, tell us, I'm sure probably when you were growing up in Bermuda, there really wasn't any type of gang violence that we have.
No.
What happened?
To a certain extent, the breakdown of the family unit, I think, has a lot to do with that. But it goes right back to the first thing I said. It boils down to love. When I was coming up in Bermuda, if I did something wrong over Miss Smith's yard,
yes.
Miss Smith would call
yes.
my grandmother, and my grandmother would know. My grandmother would have a problem with me. So by the time I got home to my grandmother's house, mm-hmm. I got a little smacky dirt. Yeah. And then my mama found out, and then when my mama came home, that was another one. Yeah. So you got double up. Like, I can say without a shadow of a doubt, I've never had to send my daughter outside to get a switch. Mm-hmm. She doesn't understand that. She doesn't know what that is.
Yes, I do.
Okay, she does. But the concept is we all were a community. We took care of one another's children. We looked out for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, that still rings very true to me. All of her friends know, and I'm going to say this, and this is why she's going to smile. All of her friends know that if I am out, and I see them and they're doing something that I know their parents will not appreciate, mm-hmm. they will get stopped by me, they will get corrected by me. I may not smack somebody, mm-hmm. but they will be pulled aside and I will pull the card. I will embarrass you in front of whomever you're disrespecting and let you know that's not right.
David, we have about a minute left. Tell me, you have two daughters and a son.
My son is the youngest.
Yeah. What is it, do you think, daughters can learn from a father as compared to a father not being there?
That's a good question. Unadulterated, unfiltered love. I think when a man is with his daughters, he is able to emulate exactly what type of man that they should try to find. If they're not there, and you're not doing what's correct, and let me be clear about that. Mm-hmm. If you are a man and you have daughters, and you are doing what is right and what is biblical, mm-hmm. then it makes that much easier for your daughter to be able to identify that when she becomes a woman and she's looking for her partner.
Thank you, David. I've had the great opportunity and great pleasure of talking to David. We, some weeks ago, had an opportunity to talk, and we just went on and on and on. So I really appreciate you being here. You can see David on CITV and in an upcoming play. And we've had one of his lovely children, Teche.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Teche. And maybe you and your brother and sister can come back some other time. Thank you so much, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Issues. We have been having an excellent time talking with our fathers, and in some cases, mothers. This time, we have a mother, a father, and baby Lara. Baby Lara is only 6 months old, and we're going to ask her what kind of father she has. But before we do that, let's ask Mom. First of all, we have Linda and Brian Holdipp, and we're happy to have them with us. Now, Linda, I know that Brian has just been a father for 6 months, but could you, out of the many excellent traits that he has, pick one good fathering trait that you've seen in the past 6 months?
I just love the way he cares for Lara.
his tenderness with her. Okay. It's a new side to him that I hadn't seen before. He also just has a way of meeting her needs, and I love the way he bathes her. So I know that sounds funny, but he plays these games that I would never think to play with her when he's in the tub.
Excellent. That's great. Now, Brian, you heard those excellent compliments from your wife. Yes. and Lara's mother. Yes. Now, what would you say is your best attribute in the past 6 months?
Yeah, I think it's probably, and this is going to sound strange as well, it's probably my stamina. I didn't realize, Richard, how much work went into having a baby. I'd seen many friends. I'm at that age now where people have had kids, and I've seen them bring their babies home, and I've seen their babies develop, but I never knew what happened, quote unquote, behind the scenes. So realizing how much goes on behind the scenes has been an eye-opener for me. And as an older dad, and I have to say I'm an older dad, a bit of an older dad, just the idea of being able to go day to day with my busy law practice, but still at night be able to get up with a smile and attend to Lara's needs. And to, like my wife said, to give her a bath at night, to feed her, and always be in perpetual motion to keep it all together. Has been a revelation to me how much energy I really do have.
Yeah. Now, a question.
Sure.
Now, Lara is much too young maybe to be disciplined.
Yes.
So how do you see discipline as she gets older?
Well, I think for us, we've talked about it a lot, and we've had a chance, again, as parents who've come into it a bit later, to observe over the years. And we know what it is that we want for Lara and the sort of behavior responses that we expect from her. So I think in terms of a discipline, I think we're going to try to the extent that we can to reason with her and to get her to understand, right from wrong. I think my wife is more of a toughie than I am. I'm a bit softer, and we often laugh about that. But surely, as and when the need comes to correct her behavior, we will apply the appropriate tools for the task.
Yeah. Linda, let me ask you, the traditional view is that the father is the head of the household. Is that your view, is that yours, and Brian's view, that the husband and father, he's the head of the household and he's the person that is the disciplinarian?
I believe that he is the head of the household. I don't know that he is the main or sole disciplinarian, or will be in future as needed. I think that as she needs discipline, she'll receive it. As far as method is concerned, I believe that if we just set the expectations for her, hopefully she'll reach those expectations, and if not, good modeling, reminders, a limited amount of reminders. And then we'll have to practice.
Let me ask you this, and Dad, jump in here. You've heard about corporal punishment, you've heard about spanking. Is that something that you think, both Brian and Linda, is there a point where you may have to discipline Lara with corporal punishment?
Absolutely. I believe in it wholeheartedly. Okay. Absolutely. Not necessarily always the first method to be used, but definitely a method to use if need be.
And I see Dad shaking his head.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it'll be more difficult for me to actually do in practice, but in theory I support it 150%.
Okay, very good. Now, as Lara gets older, 13, 14, 15, get to be a teenager, is there a particular age, if she sees a young man that she likes, is there a particular age that, okay, Lara, you can date, this is the age that you date? What determines when she will be ready to date?
Well, it's a question that only when I hear you say it, I didn't even want to think about that quite yet. But as and when she develops, I think for us and our background, or my background in particular, is, I do strongly believe in the idea of young people having friends and not getting too serious too young. So I'd encourage her to go out with a group of friends, maybe from ages, 15 and up, to go out with a group and just hang out with a number of young people in her peer group. In terms of separating off into one particular special guy, I wouldn't really want to see that before 17 or 18, but preferably even later, because I think it's important for her to discover who she is before she gets involved in issues and relationships that carry a lot of emotional sort of weight to them as well.
Now, Linda, Brian did mention 17 or 18, and then he said maybe not even a particular age. So what characteristics? In fact, as you talk, I know that there are mothers and fathers looking at this program. So what characteristics would you be looking for in Laura to say, yes, she's ready to date? Don't worry about the age, but what characteristics would you be looking for?
I think it would be very important for her to know what it is that she does want and be able to stand her ground when there's a situation that she finds herself in, if there's a situation where she can say no and hold her own. I think that's very, very important. She would have to exhibit some kind of maturity, and not be swayed by the crowd or an individual. I think that would be very important as well.
Now, Brian, all of us as fathers at some point make a mistake in raising our children.
Yes.
How do you see yourself compensating, or I don't know if it's apologizing, but if you happen to make a mistake in terms of bringing her up, how do you go to her, as she gets older, Laura, Dad made a mistake, or what do you do?
That's an interesting question. I think about that a lot, because you just think about life and step back for a second. Before I even had a daughter, I've made mistakes, I've hurt others, and I've been hurt by others greatly, and disappointed people. And so I don't expect to come into fatherhood as a perfect man. But one thing I have done in life thus far is tried to learn from the mistakes that I've made, the serious mistakes that I've made, the minor mistakes that I've made. And to the extent that saying sorry comes into it, I'm well prepared to say sorry, even to my daughter when I make a mistake. No, absolutely. I don't think that people are infallible and people don't make mistakes that they ought to apologize for.
Okay.
I don't think it undermines my role as a dad to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this, and you're the one that mentioned it. You feel that you're a bit older in terms of having a child. I don't think so, but this is what you said. Do you think it has been a benefit to you, or as compared maybe to having a child maybe 5, 6 years ago? Are you better prepared for fatherhood being older?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. I think, and Linda, I think, wants to jump in as well. But I would say so. I would say that we were well ready to have a baby, and we're happy that she's come. We're more settled in our lives. We've traveled, as you know, Richard, quite a bit.
Yes,
we've seen a good bit of the world as well.
Been out of Bermuda for quite a while.
That's right.
Overseas.
Lived abroad. That's right. It's been a fantastic life we've had so far. And as one of my friends said to me, he said it in a very philosophical way. He said, Brian, Linda and you have actually, you're 40 plus, you've lived half your life already. Until you bring a certain wisdom to the role of parenthood and a certain amount of settledness, if that's a word. And I think definitely, I feel that being older brings its benefits. The disadvantage of being older, and I'm sure older parents will agree, is just the energy levels, like I said, are sometimes dubious. But you do push on, and you do realize you have more stamina than you realized that you had even.
Is that your view too, Linda, in terms of being older parents?
I would certainly say that she was very welcomed when she came and ready. I have an adventurous spirit, and I like to try new things and do lots of experiments and just see what's new to do.
Right.
And so at this age, I was ready to settle and be monitored by her schedule. And one of my biggest concerns as I was pregnant and looking forward to her birth was, how am I going to manage this schedule? How am I going to allow a little person tell me how to do and when I can do? And let me tell you, Richard, it's been such a joy.
Oh,
it really has.
Good. That is excellent to know, excellent to hear. Now, while it has been good, it's working out well for you two, having a child at this age, would you say that's just good for you and you wouldn't necessarily recommend it, or would you say, man, this is great, I think more potential parents should wait till they're a bit older to have children?
I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all at all.
Oh, okay.
It depends on people's life scenarios. It depends on when they feel that they're ready to have kids. And I don't think we have the authority or the right to be prescriptive to anyone about how and when they should have a kid. Certainly, there are circumstances that anyone would recognize as less than ideal in becoming a parent. But we certainly wouldn't say do it our way,
Right.
because it has its advantages, like I said, and its disadvantages.
While it works for
Sure.
you, it might
Yes.
not work for everyone
That's
else.
right. That's right.
Okay. One or two more questions. You know, we're faced with gang violence in Bermuda. And from what I'm understanding, there's even now some young ladies joining the young men in terms of gang violence. In your opinion, both of you, do you think gang violence, one of the reasons for gang violence is the breakdown of the home?
Well, certainly the formation of gangs itself, I've understood, comes from the fact that people feel that they don't have a place. And so they're looking for relationships that are probably missing. And so they collect with one another, they join one another in some kind of idea, whatever the case may be. Unfortunately, some of these gangs turn to negative behaviors. And so I would say yes to that question.
Okay.
That a breakdown in family home certainly adds to the fact that we have these gangs,
Okay.
for sure.
Brian?
Yeah, I mean, without wanting to repeat her, I also have to put a plug in for spirituality and religious training in kids, and kids having good models. And as anybody would know, back in the day, even when parents themselves in Bermuda didn't go to church, they made sure that they dropped off their kid to Sunday school, so that they could meet up with grandma maybe or another family member who did attend church. And that moral upbringing, it did help to instill in kids a greater sense of right and wrong. And I think that missing piece as well, the unchurched community, I think that's also feeding into what we're seeing today with the formation of gangs and the behavior of gangs.
One of the common threads that I've seen when we did our Mother's Day special and now the Father's Day special, one of the common threads that I've heard is family support and spirituality.
Yes.
Family support and spirituality.
Yes.
Especially for the single mothers, they really emphasize family support.
Yes.
And I do believe if Bermuda would go back to greater involvement in terms of family, in terms of the community, in terms of neighbors,
Yes.
and more attention to spiritual things, I do believe that could be one of the remedies to
Yes.
the gang violence.
Absolutely.
Well, we've enjoyed having Brian and Linda and Lara Holdipp.
Yes.
Lara is the youngest person that we have had an issues. Hopefully when she gets to be 20, she can look back at this show and say, look at me. So again, Brian and Linda, we
Yes.
thank you for being here. We will be right back with the results of our survey. Welcome back. We're so happy that you could join us for our Father's Day special. Earlier in the program, we spoke with Kalee Darrell, and we have her back again. Besides Kalee is her mother, Verona Darrell, and you heard Kalee speak so eloquently about her mother. By the way, Kalee, just one or two more questions. Your father, have you ever met your father?
Yes, when I was 9 years old, I met my dad. Every day as a kid, from probably the age of 3, I prayed every night, "Will I please meet my daddy, please meet my daddy." And when I was 9, one summer, my mom picked me up from summer day camp, and she was like, "I have a surprise for you." And I was just like, "What?" She's like, "Guess." And I'm trying to guess the whole way to where we had to go. And I said, "I get to meet my daddy." And she was like, "Yeah, you do." And I was like, so happy. And my dad was selling shots at Montes Corner for a cop match, and I met him for the first time then. So I keep contact with him every now and then. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Now, I have a very special and very important question to ask you. You are a patient at the dialysis clinic here in Bermuda. So what is that special need that you have?
I've been on dialysis since November of last year, and I need a kidney. I'm young, so it's not really fun to have to do dialysis for 3.5 hours. And I'm currently on the list for a transplant, but the hospital says, better if you can get a live donor and things like that. So that is my need, my want, and really soon. So, yeah.
Okay, and we're going to ask, if you would like to know more about donating a kidney to Kalee, you can contact her by going to our website, issuesbda.com. issuesbda.com. And again, you've heard the need of Kalee, the need of a kidney. An extremely young lady, very talented, and she needs a kidney. So again, you can contact us through issuesbda.com. We'll put you in contact with Kalee and the medical team. And now for our survey results. And the question was, fathers are as nurturing as mothers. Fathers are as nurturing as mothers. The results. 46.15% of you said yes, fathers are as nurturing as mothers. 50% of you said no, fathers are not as nurturing as mothers. 3.85% of you said, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure. Now, we had some comments. I have selected 2 of the comments to share with you this evening. The first comment, mothers are naturally nurturing, not fathers. Again, this person says, mothers are naturally nurturing, not fathers. The second comment, although my husband can be a comforter when the kids need it, he was also a big tease and could irritate them too. Not too sure if that person was in favor in terms of fathers are as nurturing as mothers, or they weren't. I'm not sure, but we do thank you for the comment. Now, 31.82% of the respondents were females, and 68.18% of the respondents were male. So we had more male responding than we did females. I don't know if you agree with our survey results, but those of you who participated, those are the results. And we thank you for participating. Again, more people said fathers were not as nurturing as mothers. And now mothers and children, make sure your father, make sure that he has a great Father's Day. Take him out to a restaurant, buy him a new BMW or one of those fancy cars. But fathers, happy Father's Day. And we'll see you on Issues next time.